from the book, The Rights of Non-Muslims in the Islamic World by Dr. Salih Hussein Al-Ayad. And on page 42 and 43 of his book, he mentions here, he says that even in war, he said even in war, which is talking about the struggle of jihad, can only occur for valid reasons and moral goods. It can only take place for the following reasons. He says, one, as a response to an act of aggression, as stated in the Quran. He mentions the verses that I gave earlier, chapter 2, verse 190, and some of the other verses. He says, the second reason, as a penalty for those who break a treaty or violate a truce, as Allah stated. We mentioned chapter 9, verse 12 and verse 13, mentioning that they broke the oaths and they attacked the Muslims first. The next reason, number 3, is as a deterrent to those who have been persecuting or preventing missionaries, Muslim missionaries, or those who do da'wah of the faith from traveling to the people, as it is stated by Allah, and fight them on until there is no more persecution. Alright, and religion becomes the laws. But if they stop, let there be no hostility, except against those who practice oppression. Now you see that I want to stress that again. You see the command is clear, right? That again, what does Allah say in Surah chapter 2, verse 1 and 3? That, but if they cease, let there be no hostility, except those who practice oppression. These are the reasons that, Muslims, if it's a physical confrontation, that it is for those reasons. And again, even persecution or oppression, it can still take the means that the Prophet spoke about. If you can handle it, if it can be dealt with by verbally speaking out against the injustice, so be it. If you have to spend money to help get people in leadership or whatever who can change the situation, so be it. A physical confrontation is the last resort. If that can be avoided, then that is the best course of action. Okay? So there. And let me quote another sheikh or scholar just to drive the point home. We have Dr. or Sheikh Atiyah Sakr. He was the head of Al-Azhar Fatwa Committee, and this is what he states. Alright. He says the jihad is one of the most misunderstood and abused aspects of Islam. He mentions very honestly that there are some Muslims who exploit and misuse the concept to their own political objectives, and I agree with him. That's very true. And then he says there are also many non-Muslims who misunderstand it as well, and they use it, as I mentioned, Robert Spencer, etc., to misinterpret it, to discredit Islam and Muslims. So here's what he says about the reason. He gives 3 reasons, okay? He gives 3 reasons that if it has to be a physical confrontation or whatever, that here the reasons are as such. He says, having said this, I would like to classify war in Islam into 3 main categories. Number 1 is defensive, which is resorted to when the enemies of Muslims attack the religion, honor, property, territories, etc. Number 2 is the liberating war, which is done to liberate all those who are oppressed, not just Muslims. It can be anybody, like our country, the United States. Sometimes we say we send troops to other countries to liberate people in different countries. Well, that's an Islamic principle, to send troops, if it need be, to help people who are oppressed. Even if they're not Muslims, the Muslims can do so. And 3rd is preemptive, which is launched only when Muslims know for sure that there is reason against their peaceful treaties with the enemy, when the enemy has a serious plan to attack them. And this is, again, he was the head of the Fatwa Committee of Al-Azhar University, one among many prominent Muslim places of knowledge and learning. So this is the position of Islam concerning peace and violence. Yes, Islam is a peaceful religion, and I think many times people they're not using it right, or maybe they don't understand. When we say peaceful, we don't mean passive. Peaceful doesn't mean that we are passive, that we sit by and allow injustices to go forward. Like a police officer. A police officer is known as a peacekeeper, but he has a gun, he has the billy club, right? If he may have to use certain extreme measures to bring back the peace. But does that not mean he's still a peacekeeper? If he can stop you by verbally stopping you or handcuffing you without violence, so be it. As we know many stories, sometimes he may have to pull out the gun. He may have to use the billy club in order to restore the peace or stop the one who is violating the peace. But yet it's still, he's known as the one who keeps the peace. He's supposed to be the good guy. You see? So in Islam, we say Islam is peaceful. We don't mean that it's passive. Because many times people misunderstand it. They say, well, you say it's peaceful, but look at these verses here. But they don't see those contexts. And the context, as I mentioned again, are good, moral, and justified reasons. All right? So with that, we will stop there, and I will pass it on to David. Thank you.